One of the cool things that's coming out in Dragonflight is the actual dragon flying with the dragon. Now, the problem can be that a lot of players will have a hard time to actually fly with their dragon. They'll spend more time on the ground than actually up in the air. But don't worry, we're going to go through exactly how you will dragonfly. We will also go through everything around that has to do with your dragon, such as the talents, the customization, and the dragonflight, and all that good stuff. Let's check it out. Okay, so when it comes to your dragon mount, when it comes to your dragon riding, we were going to talk about everything that has to do with the mount, what type of mounts you can get. We're going to talk about the abilities, all the talents for them, and the different flying abilities you get on them. We're going to talk about exactly how you can fly in a good way, so you don't stand there literally every couple minutes on the ground waiting for your abilities to be back up, and then you can start flying again, right? We're going to go through the most effective way to still be in the air as long as possible. And then we're also going to talk about the talents, the whole talent system around it, and how you get talent points. We're going to go through the customization of it, and also about something called dragon riding. Now let's start with the first thing. When do you get your first dragon riding mount? Now, the mounts are tied to the main storyline. So when you start in the Waking Shores, the first zone that you enter in Dragon Isle, 30 minutes an hour, you will get your first mount through the storyline in Waking Shores. And that's the renewed Proto-Drake. Later on, when you reach the next zone, which is Ohn'ahran Plains, then through the storyline, you will get your second mount, which is the Windborn Velocidrake. Later on, the third mount will come from the third zone, which is the Azure Span, and that is this one, and this one is called the Highland Drake. And then the last mount comes from the last zone, which is in Thaldraszus, and that is the Cliffside Willow Drake. So those are 4 different dragons that you can get that are called dragon riding mounts. There will be more at the end game as well, but these are the 4 ones you get through the storyline when you're leveling up your character. So the next part is about the dragon riding, a UI that will be changed when you mount up on your dragon. So let's mount up on this dragon here. When I mounted up, what happened was that I got a new UI over here, and I also got a new action bar where my number 1 action bar, the main action bar, is located. That's the one that's going to change and swap into the dragon riding action bars instead. The one up here has to do with Vigors. Now, Vigor are like charges. Each orb is 1 charge. When I use an ability to fly my dragon, then 1 charge is used. So let's say I'm gonna fly up in the air now, and now that charge is used. You will recharge your Vigor in 2 ways. One, that you stand on the ground or run around on the ground, basically not flying. That's the first one. And the other one is if I am in the air, but if I fly fast, and you can see the winds, you start seeing the winds, right? When you start seeing the winds, you can see that you are getting back recharge. But if I don't get any wind when I'm flying, like now, it's standing still. I'm not recharging it. So those are the 2 ways that you can get your charge back. And that's about the Vigor. The other thing that happened was the UI that I said. You will start with 2 abilities in that action bar. And one is that you fly up in the air, like that. And the other one is that you fly forward, like that. You will get another one later on through the storyline. And you'll get some other ones through the storyline that has to do with a portal you can put and you can come back to and stuff like that. But when it comes to flying, the 2 buttons that you will use, you don't need to use the other ones. That is to fly forward and also to fly upwards. Those are the 2 buttons you need all the time. If we jump in now to how to fly your dragon, what I can say first is people that have not tried this out, and people that have tried it out but the first time they did it, they will mount up and they will start flying in the way that they're normally used to in the normal flying mounts. And then they're going to use the abilities when they feel that it's getting a little bit slow. If you do it that way, you will lose all these Vigors pretty fast, and then you will land on the ground, and then you have to wait for them to recharge. You're gonna be super pissed because you're gonna spend a lot of time you're gonna spend more time on the ground waiting for this to recharge than actually be up in the air and flying. So how is the best way to fly the dragon in Dragonflight. Number one, when you start flying, make sure that you are high in the air, high up in the air. And that can be in two ways. Either that you start from a cliff that is a little bit high ground. If you do that, yeah, then you have started high in the air. Number two, if you're not in the cliff, then you need to fly up in the air, right? And to fly up in the air, you use the ability to flap upwards. So let's say I flap upwards, like that, and then I'm up in the air. You can do it even one more time to get even further up before you start like flying. Once you are up in the air, it's very important to angle your dragon so it's tilted a little bit downwards. The more you tilt down, the faster your dragon will fly. But of course, if you tilt all the way down, then you're just like, you're gonna go to the ground directly, right? And hit the ground. And you don't want that because you want to fly around. So instead, tilt it enough so you feel that you are getting speed on your dragon. And this is what I mean. I'm gonna fly up in the air. And now, instead of being like this, like straight forward, you see that? I'm falling. I'm not flying, I'm just falling down. So instead, I'll angle my dragon a little bit tilted so I'm getting speed. And that's the difference. It's all about that you need to angle the dragon to get speed. What I showed you now was a cliff, right? But let's say there is no cliff and this literally just like this. Then it's gonna be a bit harder just to angle it down and be like, yeah, I'm gonna start flying now. You can do that. So let's say if I start up in the air like this, I can literally tilt down a little bit and then I have the speed, right? What you can do as well is that you can fly up in the air and then use the ability to move forward. And then you have guided speed more or less directly and you can continue with that speed quite some time. So if I fly up in the air and then I move forward and now I angle my dragon so I have speed. That's when you fly in longer directions. Now, good ways to keep on flying, and also it's the same way to fly higher, and I'm gonna teach you how to do that now. When you're in the air, not when you start flying, when you're in the air, the best way to fly higher up, it's not just fly up in the air and flap upwards. It's a little bit different. Every time, either if you want to fly longer distance or if you want to fly higher up, you use the fly upwards ability when you have speed. And what I mean with speed is that you will see the wind when you're flying. When you see the wind, that's when you use the ability to fly upwards. If you don't do that, you will barely fly upwards at all. And I'm going to show you the two differences. I'm up in the air now. There we go. Tilting it a little bit. Now, if I am with no speed like this, no wind, and I press upwards, I barely came up. That's how far I came. Now, if I get speed, and then upwards, I came much higher than I was before. If you want to fly even higher up, then you use your fly forward ability, and directly after, you will use the fly upwards. Alright, so if you look up here, I want to get up to that mountain. And it's pretty damn high up. I'm down here, and the best way to do it, I'm going to start flying upwards because, like I said before, we need to be up in the air before we can do anything, right? We're going to go up. We're going to tilt downwards, get some speed, get even more speed, number one ability, and then we use number two to fly up. And there we have it. And now I'm up. Pretty far down. Okay. And then I'm going to show you also what to do to maintain your flying when you're flying. To maintain your flying when you're flying, it was the two things that I told you about, that you use the number two ability directly after you have tilted down and got some speed, right? But except for that, you need to find a little pathways as well, so you can always, or as much as possible, being able so that your mount, your dragon, can be a little bit tilted all the time. The more your dragon is tilted all the time, the more speed you'll have, right? So if you find those pathways as well when you're flying around, then you can also maintain your flying for a longer time. So if I fly up in the air, tilting a little bit so I have speed. Now, I don't need to use more abilities. I am flying now. I don't want to waste abilities now, because if I start using my abilities now, later on, when I don't have this nice speed, I have used all my abilities for nothing, and then I'm out of abilities when I actually need them. So now I'm tilted so much that I'm starting to touch the ground, right? Or touch water in this case. So now I use the number 2 ability to get higher up. I'm going to tilt one more time, get some good speed before I use number 2 again, so I get even higher up again. Alright, that was the flying. Let's go to the next one. The Dragon Riding Talent Tree. Dragon Riding talents will help you fly better, fly longer, get more Vigor, which means you can use abilities much more, and the recharge of the Vigor, so you can use more abilities more often. And then you have also some talents that can also make cool things. Like there's a swirl ability. When you use that swirl, you will you can like knock off players and stuff like that, and you can hit other mobs, stuff like that. And you can also do like when you land on the ground, you will do damage, or when you land on the ground, you will put the shield on yourself. Those are type of abilities. And to do that, you need to open up your Dragon Isle summary, and you'll find that next to the minimap, which is this one here. You click on it, it opens up Dragon Isle summary. In here, you'll find your Dragon Riding talents. Click on the view, and there it is. When it comes to the talents, you use points, and those points are these symbols, and those symbols are called glyphs. So when you're going to use points into this talent tree, you will use glyphs, which is points. Glyphs are scattered around Dragon Isle, and they look like this. These glyphs are everywhere. Most of them are on high ground, so you have like trying to get your way up and get those glyphs. We're gonna go to a place where I know there is a glyph, so you can see how it looks. And these glyphs, there are 56 glyphs in Dragonflight, and they are scattered around on all zones. They're scattered in Ohn'ahran Plains, Thaldraszus, the Waking Shore, and the Azure Span. I made a guide where all of them are, so just look at the link below and you'll find that. There's a glyph that is literally up in that mountain over there. I have taken it, but you can still see it. If you have taken a glyph, the glyph will still be there, but if there's a glyph you haven't taken, it will be very, very shiny, very yellow and shiny. And if you fly over a glyph, you have taken it, you get an achievement. If you have taken a glyph, the glyph symbol is still there, but instead it's a little more darker and a little more like smoke coming out of it. The next part is about customizing your dragon. So you're gonna have the 4 dragons through the storyline. You can get more dragons later. These 4 dragons you can customize, and you do that by going to a certain location in Dragon Isle. And this certain location is called Rostrum of Transformation. Now, Rostrum of Transformation, there are 3 of them that I know about. There is one in Waking Shores, there's one in Valdraken, and there's one here in Ohn'ahran Plains. I have made a guide on where all of them are, and I'll put that in the link down below as well. It looks like this. So when you go there, you open up a new UI that looks a little bit similar to this one, and you can just literally choose different type customizations for your dragon. Everything from the horns all over the place, spiked all over the place, wings, your tail, your back, your head, all everywhere. And also like colors and shapes and everything. You will have a base of customization in the beginning, but you need more, of course. To get more, you need to find something called Drake Watcher manuscripts. These scrolls, there are loads of them. Loads. And you can get them through treasures, rares, reputations, rep vendors, like renowned vendors, and so on. So once you unlock them, you can go and buy a lot of them from the vendor as well. Let's move on to the dragon races. There are loads of different dragon races in the Dragon Isles. So a dragon race is literally what it means. You will race with your dragon in a certain way. And then we're gonna find one fast to see a little bit how it looks. There's one. On the mini-map, it looks like a flag, like a gold flag. And it's called Bronze Timekeeper. And that's the NPC. You talk to NPC and be like, yeah, I would like to try the course. There are 2 types of dragon races. One is that you follow one pathway. you will fly through rings, and there's a line where the next ring will be later on, and you just need to fly through them as fast as possible and then reach the goal. The other one, which I think this one is that there are rings all over the place, and you need to run through all those rings. As you can see, you need to fly through all those rings, and the faster I do that, the better it is. There is a timer when you do the dragon riding, and when you do the dragon racing, and when you reach the goal, it will tell you what time you actually beat. So the timer is not there now, but it will be there once I reach the goal. So now I reach the goal now. It says here what I completed it on. Now I got gold on it. You can get gold, bronze, gold, silver, and bronze. Those are the different ones you can get on it. So that's one type of the dragon race. Another one is just linear. You have to like fly through things and stuff like that and get back to the goal and then and in a certain time. And that's the normal dragon racing. Then there's another one which is more like a community dragon racing. So you compete with other players. Each zone has dragon races scattered, and it has one race in each zone that has to do with multiplayer racing. I have guides on where all these races are and where the multiplayer races are. I'll put these links down below as well so you will have it. And there it is, guys. That is everything you need to know when it comes to flying your dragon and all the basic things you know when it comes to the talent tree, the racing, and so on. Until next time.